Welcome to the Payment Shed podcast, the weekly podcast that dives into the big topics, trends, and people shaping the worlds of payments, fintech, and business leadership, with your two co-hosts, myself, Grant Evans, and Justin Hanna. Welcome to another episode of the Payment Shed podcast. Today we are joined by Omar Rafii, CEO and co-founder of Krowd, and Jonny Fox, Partnerships Director of Krowd. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Hello.
Please, can we get a brief introduction and a bit of background from you both on how you got into the wonderful world of fintech? Omar.
Yeah, thanks for having us. My background has nothing to do with fintech. I started as an oil trader at Shell.
Oh, wow.
So I always say I'm repenting from my sins. Helping restaurants today probably is the best way to start repenting from those sins. But no, I got into this in 2019. So we joined the Techstars Barclays accelerator program. And the idea was to build a loyalty program for the Barclays Bank. And that's what opened our eyes to the world of fintech and card-linked offers.
Very good. Jonny?
My background is running IT for restaurants and retail. So I've been doing this for 15 plus years. Now I've been with Krowd for coming up 3 years. Sitting on the other side of the fence, which is very nice.
A slightly more relevant sort of crossover into restaurants than oil trading, potentially.
So we're teaching them everything we know.
There you go. So what's the origin story then, I guess, for Krowd? Obviously, Barclays was the sort of initiator, but what sort of brought you to the world of loyalty?
So I actually started before Barclays, where as an oil trader, because I traveled a lot, finding the best restaurant was difficult because it was the best restaurant for the average Joe and not for me personally. Average ratings, the top ranked, or it's a bloggers based view on the best restaurants. So we built an algorithm that predicted based on my 3 favorite restaurants, what other restaurants would be very good for me. Kind of like Netflix. When you first sign up to Netflix, they ask you what are movies you like. We did the same thing. Anyway, there's no money in it. So we somehow stumbled upon the fact that banks are somehow using transaction data to give customers good quality offers. And we're like, oh, that's interesting. And what better offer is there than a restaurant offer? So that was my foray into the world we're in now.
Very good. And I guess what problem then were you trying to solve? And was there a specific gap in the market? Because, there would have been other platforms kind of in this niche, I'm sure, but what were you kind of leaning into as your key differentiator?
Yeah, I mean, when we first found it, we said, okay, interesting product, really rich data, obviously transaction data, so you understand customer behavior. But it was very utilitarian in that all the offers were Tesco, 2% cashback, or B&Q, or, places that cycle. I always say no one wakes up in the morning saying, honey, we're going to Tesco this weekend because there's 3% cashback, right? So we thought they were missing something in this whole loyalty for banking customers. And, when you've got so many cards, how do you decide to use that card over the other card? And we said experiences really builds loyalty. And, travel is probably the biggest experience, but it doesn't happen enough. So we said we need a frequent experience. And that was food, right? I mean, it's a top 3 spend typically. And everybody enjoys eating out. So if we could power those experiences, a birthday, anniversary, just going out with friends, and it's powered by the bank, that's what's going to build loyalty. That's going to build that subconscious or conscious association of that experience to the bank. So we felt that was a big missing gap, which is what we're filling now.
So that's quite different, obviously, from traditional loyalty, like you mentioned there. How did that philosophy that you first were talking about develop into kind of the next phase of an iteration of the business?
Yeah, I mean, starting off as an app, a B2C app, giving restaurant recommendations to actually seeing transaction data to give real recommendations based on the transaction data. Seemed like a no-brainer. Plus, I didn't need to acquire customers. The customers are already there. Saves you a bit of money. But yeah, I mean, it's in the end of the day, what we want to do and what we're very passionate about. And if you look at the team itself, beyond just giving those banks a good customer base who are loyal through the offers that we're providing, we're actually helping restaurants fill empty seats and drive spend their way. And we're super passionate about that. I mean, everybody in my team comes from the hospitality industry. They've all worked either as a GM or as a waiter, waitress, or marketing director. Jonny was head of IT. I've now got a small little restaurant out in Harrow as well, so I feel the pain of the restaurant industry. So, you know,
Would that be your guinea pig customer by any
well,
chance?
you know,
Helps.
the amount of tech stacks we've put through that restaurant just to test things out. So it's hugely rewarding to be able to actually, support this industry.
And Jonny, you sort of joined the journey slightly later on in the process.
Yeah. It was an odd way to meet Bilal and Omar. Bilal's our other co-founder, based in the UK. So I was on the judging panel at the Hospitality Tech Show. It was an innovation award, and Omar and Bilal had this Krowd product, which was hyper personalization. Not the product that we have today, but it was really, really interesting. And we chatted afterwards. And at that time, I was working at Gaucho, and I was kind of introducing Omar and Bilal to some people that I knew in the industry, and helping them kind of get some insight into what restaurants would look for this app. But when they kind of moved into the card linking world, it was kind of, when you've got a big bank on board, then I'd really like to come on board full time. And that was Amex. So as soon as they got the Amex offer, I remember I was in Spain and having dinner, and Omar phoned me saying, we've just signed a contract with Amex. And I pretty much said, I'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll see you in the office.
So when you've got a big bank, there'll be more job security for you over at Krowd. So
that's how my wife thought about it.
Very good.
So yes, so I knew the guys for a couple of years before I came on board. And yeah, it's been a great journey.
And that was order and pay at table back then.
Yeah.
So we had pivoted from our first B2C app to order and pay at table before order and pay at table was hot.
And this overarched with COVID, presumably. So
well, that was terrible timing, because in 2019 we come into Barclays saying, hey, if you really want to drive loyalty, give people restaurant offers. So they had a contract ready for us, a pilot ready for us, which 2020 came in and absolutely destroyed everything we had in mind.
The sector took such a huge hit, right?
Absolutely.
During that time, and people had to try and adapt as quickly as possible without really knowing how to adapt, because no one's ever done it before. And there were some fast movers, right? And they probably did benefit from quick decisions or big bets that they made, but others maybe were kind of looking to see what the world was doing, right, when it got to COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and if you look at offers specifically pre-COVID and post-COVID, pre-COVID, many restaurants were giving out offers left, right, and center. Post-COVID, they kind of took that step back and said, we don't want to be giving offers out. And it worked well for us, because the way the product is perceived from a consumer perspective is that it's a bank-funded offer. So while it is merchant-funded, so the restaurants do fund these offers, the consumer assumes that, because I'm an Amex customer or I'm a Barclays customer, and I'm so, they want me to stay loyal, they're offering these, cashback rewards. So restaurants were like, yeah, I'll jump onto that. I don't want to be on Groupon being seen as desperate and needing customers. But everybody needs help. And it kind of worked out well for us, really.
And Jonny, was there a point, obviously, after you joined the business, that you realised, wow, this is kind of a real moment that's going to move the needle for Krowd as it moves forward?
First of all, the people that Omar brought on board were really good leaders in the industry that knew the space really well. Our business development director was ex-CMO at Gaucho, at Hawksmoor for 15 plus years. So that was one thing, was definitely the team that we were building. And then the people, the restaurants, the actual quality of the restaurants coming on board, and the banks that Omar and Bilal, we call them publishers, they published the deals. They were just getting better and better. So yes, and then on the tech side, the one thing that came out of COVID, I believe that the way that the new generation of APIs were being developed because of the pay at table apps that were coming through for COVID, just meant everything just hit perfectly, that we were coming into this at the right time to do something very different.
Makes sense. Now, when people think of customer engagement in hospitality, I will hold my hand up and think, whoever gives me the best loyalty, right? They're the business I want to speak to. You mentioned before, Omar, around consumers don't always want to feel desperate when they're going to maybe like Groupon, whatever it might be. But we all know customer acquisition is extremely, extremely important. Why do you think customer acquisition has been such a tough challenge for restaurants, especially kind of post-pandemic?
I mean, look, there's the restaurant industry is a tough industry, and there's always a lot of competition. When times are tough, people are spending less, so they struggle to bring people in. When times are good, more restaurants open, so that you're struggling to get share of mind. And I think offers have historically just been a really, really good way to bring customers in. I always joke, according to Wikipedia, which I sort of trust my life on, the first restaurant that ever existed was in 500 BC out in Egypt, ancient Egypt, selling guinea fowl and I don't know what wild grains. And I always joke that probably on Tuesdays they had buy one, get one freeze, right? So it's always been a way to bring customers in, but it's never been data driven, right? So I remember seeing once out in Oxford Street, a lady carrying a placard saying free matcha this way, right? So they must have paid for that lady. They obviously gave away the free matcha. Like, do they actually know what the ROI was in running that campaign or that offer? Probably not. And that's something that I think we've been very focused on, is helping these restaurants to not only be able to bring customers in, but also to understand how they are able to bring customers in more efficiently, more effectively, and drive those sales that they really need when they need them as well. And yeah, customer acquisition is key, right? In the end of the day, loyalty is important, right? And loyalty is a very important product for restaurants, but you need to feed the funnel. Like, a customer first needs to get in to join the loyalty program so you can retain them. And we're kind of that feeding the funnel. We're the top of the funnel, bringing customers in that have maybe never heard of you, or they've heard of you, but not taken that step to go. And that incentive, that cashback, that reward was what made them say, you know what, let me give it a try. I've heard of it. It sounds good. Let me go and try it out. And that really works well.
I think we've all done it, right? We've all gone, I've heard of that restaurant. I've heard people talk about it, but I've never been.
Yeah.
At what point do you turn that into, I've heard about it, and do you know what? I think I'm going to go.
Our view is that a behavior changing offer does that, right? So we've seen people play in the offer space, especially in the States, for example, where you see restaurant offers at 3% cashback. And I always tell restaurants, I said, don't even bother running. Some restaurants tell me it's too expensive. I say, I won't even offer you a 5% cashback deal because I don't think you'll make money on that. You'll lose money because you'll get incidental spend and not incremental spend. Right? So if me seeing a 3% offer or 5% offer, is that going to drive me to change my behavior to go to the restaurant? Or am I going to go anyway and, oh, by the way, there was an offer, so therefore I got 5% off? That meant the restaurant lost money on that. So our view is it should be a double-digit offer for you really to be driven, and that behavior change where it's like, I've got two options. I'm going to make an active decision to go to that second option because there's a reward that's worth it for me.
I think that, very clearly distincts the difference between you guys and conventional loyalty apps, and how, like you say, that top of funnel piece, right? They're really partners of yours. So on that partnership front, when you look at brands like Como and partnerships with those guys, and how that fits into your broader acquisition ecosystem, like how important are those strategic partnerships for you guys? I guess they're a fundamentally vital part of your business, are they?
Yeah, they are. They what they're doing for keeping the customers and keeping it sticky for the restaurants is definitely important for us. What we're trying to do is increase that loyalty database by driving through the banks an extra. I mean, we've got 20-30 million cardholders currently through the different publishers that we've got. A restaurant can't go out to 20-30 million customers. We don't charge for marketing or anything like that. We're a transactional based commission. So we are driving brand new eyes to these restaurants in a way that a restaurant have to spend a lot of money to get to that many customers. And driving what we've got with dynamic loyalty is driving the loyalty through the banks. Means that customers that don't sign up to a restaurant's loyalty purely for the fact that they don't want more spam in their inboxes, or they're just signing up to too many, or they've got too many physical cards or apps downloaded, that for us integrating into the Comos of the world and to the CRMs means that we can display a customer's loyalty through their banking apps. So you'll be able to see all of the restaurants that you've attached your card to, how many points you've got, if it's a double points on a Tuesday afternoon, that kind of thing. So we're driving it through a different way, but all we're doing is putting the information that Como has.
So those banks massively feed your top of funnel, basically, and the more banks that you bring on board, the bigger an upsell that then comes to other third parties for you guys, right? Because you talk about the 20 to 30 million, that number will grow and grow and grow the more banking partnerships that you've got in place, right?
Yeah. We're at a stage now where we've got maybe too many customers, where restaurants are pushing back and saying you're driving too many sales. And I always find that strange. I find it strange when the restaurant would be like, Omar, you've hit your budget. I'm like, what does that mean? So should I stop the people from coming inside because I've driven too many customers? Sometimes we go over budget and I apologize and I say, I'm sorry, I've driven too many sales your way. But that's true, actually, because I mean, in the end, and part of the way the product works is that because we bill for cashback, so the way it works really is you get an offer on your card, you go and you spend the full amount, and we identify that transaction using the merchant ID. We collect the money from the restaurant, pass it to the publisher, the bank, who puts it in as a statement credit to you. Now while that buy one, get one free that the ancient Egyptian restaurant had, they didn't get an invoice for that buy one, get one free. It just happened, right? It just happens right there and then. Discounts that restaurants run are also happening just immediately, and they don't feel that cost. With cashback, you're billing for that transaction 30 days, 45 days later. Restaurants don't manage cash well. And when you ask them for something, they're like, well, thanks for sending that person over 30 days ago. I've used that money 10 times over. And that's where a big struggle.
This is what Omar's learning now he owns a restaurant.
Yeah, exactly.
So that stat was provided by Wikipedia again. Other historical research centres are available.
How then do these partnerships create mutual value then? So you talk about the restaurants, you talk about the banks, you talk about the diners themselves. How does that create a relationship then with the diners and the restaurants, do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, again, the banks, first of all, the restaurant sector for banks is a very important sector. As you know, for the economy in general, the restaurant sector is very important. It's the largest sector in terms of employees. I think they've got over 2 million employees in the restaurant sector. So it's important for that, for the economy as a whole, to have that sector perform well, right? So that's one benefit. Then, of course, like I said, around the experiences, so driving those experiences to those customers. And then from the consumer's perspective, I mean, it's, with COVID, we saw how many missed moments we had, right? And everybody's all of a sudden felt like, well, how did we survive for a year and a half without going out to restaurants? So giving them that opportunity to go out again is phenomenal. And you see that in the numbers that we're generating for our publishing partners. Like, the offers we're running are by far the most successful offers they've ever had run. So our thesis back in 2019, even though timing was horrible because of the pandemic, proved out to be very true now. I mean, we have a publishing partner where over 25% of their customers have signed up to the offer. And a huge a number of those actually engage with the offer itself, as in redeem it. You've got those people just sign up to every offer available but never redeem it. Now, we've got huge engagement, which no one's ever seen before. So it's clearly that everybody's, from those three parties, the banks, the restaurants, and the consumers themselves are enjoying this.
It's all driven through app, is it? Or is there any element of QR codes with any of this?
No, we try to keep it that discreet that it is all done. It's recognised. So the cards, when they sign up currently with the cashback, the cards are recognised through the merchant ID. When we scan the merchant IDs are scanned, and then we can deliver the cashback. When we talk about dynamic rewards, we're recognising a card at the payment terminal. So it's a much nicer journey. It's a quicker journey where Omar said that it can take 45 or 60 days for reporting purposes. It's all kind of very instant, and live reporting. So yeah, it's we don't need any apps. We don't need any QR codes. The idea I've always had in my head is, if you're on a date, the last thing you want to do is wave to a waiter or waitress that you've got a QR code and a coupon code for 10% off. You just want it to be seamless. And
Yeah.
so the way that we've built it from cashback all the way through to our new product, Dynamic Rewards, it's all seamless.
And what's if you were to describe then a campaign end to end from bank app to diner sitting down for a meal, how would that flow look like when you're going and positioning this to an end customer of yours, I guess?
So on the bank side, it's there's two ways of doing it. There's click to activate and there's always on. It's a contentious conversation, especially around attribution, right? Because if you applied an offer onto every Lloyd's customer, that's 20 million cards. Whether or not they know there's an offer, they're going to redeem that offer. And that could be detrimental. That's that whole incremental versus incidental, right? Do you actually know that the customer is coming in because of the offer, or are they just there by accident and redeemed an offer? So the typical journey that we prefer is click to activate. And what that is on the banking app, you will add the offer to your card. And only once you've added the offer to your card do we start listening to that card at the merchant ID. When that card shows up at the merchant ID, we know how much they spent, and whatever they were owed, we will then, like I said, bill for that, collect it, pass on the cashback element to the issuer, who then pushes through a statement credit. In some cases, the issuer pushes that statement credit on their own sort of risk, in that they haven't received the cashback yet, but they'll fund it in advance and hope that we pay them. In other cases, they wait, and that could take up to 60 days for the cashback to be paid out. So that's the end-to-end sort of user experience.
Cool.
What's that secret then to finding them new customers? You mentioned before around 80% of your diners are first-time visitors. I mean, that's a great stat, right? It's incredible. What is that recipe for you getting them for them first-time consumers to make that first-time visit?
I think it's the inventory that we've got. I think that the quality of what we're providing via the banks, we choose restaurants that are nice to go to. They're good experiences. They're good ratings on Google and TripAdvisor and the rest of it. We don't go after the fried chicken places on your high street.
Is wallet spend important then when you say, so you want...
It's not wallet spend, because we'd be quite happy. We have coffee shops. We have some mum and pop kind of shops, independent shops on there, restaurants on there. They just have to be nice quality, good experiences. We want these guys to keep coming back to, for example, Amex Dining, to get their next restaurant. So if we deliver good restaurants, there's a bit of personalization in there as well. So if you go to a steak restaurant, you'll see steak restaurants. If you're a vegan, you'll get shown the vegan restaurants. That's kind of what, for us, we see good uptake from customers.
For me, I've only normally used loyalty, and it's not even loyalty, it's offers. I think there's such a big difference between loyalty, because me as a consumer and the way I spend, compared to an offer at XYZ restaurant on the high street where I can get, I don't know, a starter through my main meal, right? Where I'm rushing about a lunch with the kids, and I'm like, we'll just jump in here for an hour. I don't want to be in here for any longer. I just know that I've got a free pizza with one pizza.
So the offer gets you in, and the loyalty keeps you sticky.
Yeah.
The Payment Shed podcast is proudly sponsored by TAMI AI, the market intelligence and lead generation platform built for sales and marketing teams who want precision, not guesswork. TAMI helps businesses identify their best fit prospects, gain deep market insights, and boost revenue growth. And it really has become the go-to solution for the payments and fintech industries. Both Justin and I have used the tool in previous organizations that we've been in, and we really can't recommend it highly enough. There's a link in the bio to click on the TAMI website and find out more about their product. You really won't regret it.
Yeah.
But I'm also well aware that is only serving a purpose for what I'm doing. It's probably not somewhere I'm going to take my wife on a date to. It's somewhere that's just very quick and easy for that. And I think from what you guys are talking about, it's definitely more kind of the upper end of wanting to go out for nice meals and getting rewarded for doing that.
I think we've got a mix of everything, right? We've got everything from your QSR lunch places, poke places, those lunch bowls, to 3 Michelin-starred restaurants. And I think, look, London itself has about 15,000 restaurants. I think across the UK is about 80,000+ restaurants. Like, it's impossible to go to every restaurant, right? So you either a creature of habit and go to the same places regularly, which most people are, or you sometimes are incentivized to go try something new. And I think we've got that many good places that people are looking at it and being like, I've never been there before, but I've walked past it. It looks quite nice, or my friends have talked about it. And actually, yeah, I wouldn't mind going there and getting a 10% cash back.
How much access then do you guys get to data that will help you with that? I'm going to call out, slightly controversial. I know you guys work with Amex, but I use my Monzo day to day and I use my Amex day to day. They're two of my main spend cards. Right? Both of them have, as Justin said, offer solutions, right? Not necessarily loyalty. And particularly with Amex, for me, and I'll have a look and I'll normally go on once a month or whenever they update it, but I don't feel like they're using my customer data necessarily to personalize those locations. Like I would expect to see certain different venues on that list if they know my spending, and you can spend thousands of pounds on your credit card in a year. It does feel like they're maybe signing certain partnerships. And Monzo's the same, by the way. There's stuff on there. I'm like, I'm never gonna. That's not me, right? You should know my data. I'm not. That's not an offer you should put in front of me. Or if you're going to build a loyalty app, look at where I do my day-to-day spending. How important is the data that you guys get in from the banks to then help to work with them on those loyalty and acquisition solutions?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. And in the end of the day, the transaction data is very valuable. In restaurants, it's a bit tricky because historically, I mean, recommendation models are built on, not collaborative filtering models, but like something along those likes, which is, people who spend here would likely spend there. And because they see enough transactions happening in these two different locations, they find that association. With restaurants, because it's not a very frequent spend, right? And there's so many of them, it's hard to build those associations. What we did, and this goes back to the original app, which was that restaurant recommendation app, we went and crawled all the data we could on the restaurant, so reviews, blogs, images, social media, to help us understand what makes that restaurant special. And then when we see a transaction at that restaurant, we know all the attributes of the restaurant. We can find other restaurants that have similar attributes. So where the two fit together is the transaction gives me probability. The third-party data gives me similarity. Bringing the two together is very important because Nobu and Zuma, very similar, but probability of you doing those regularly, unless I don't know something about your income, is probably quite low. So giving you that recommendation, like I go to Nobu today, you're like, you've been to Nobu, I'm going to give you Zuma tomorrow, is probably a low probability.
I thought it was overrated.
Well, there you go. Doesn't actually, we work with everyone, so you can't say that. But they're all great. But if I gave you maybe two slightly less similar restaurants, but very much within your wheelhouse of going to regularly, I'd be more likely to show you that, right? And I always give the example of Five Guys. What can you tell from transaction data in Five Guys? You get the merchant category code, so you know it's a restaurant. You get the average transaction value, let's say 20 quid, 30 quid. But what else do you know? Like, Five what guys? Is it French guys? Is it Italian guys? Is it Chinese guys? I mean, it's just Five Guys, right? There's no way to know it's a burger place. But we've scraped all the data to figure out that it is a burger place. It's a slightly upscale QSR burger place, and we can find you a Shake Shack instead or something like that. So it's
You're using ATVs to drive that decisioning?
No. So it's like I said, it's all this third-party data, the reviews, the blogs, the images.
The volume of fries you get at Five Guys compared to everywhere else, right?
Well, exactly. Well, and they're so unhealthy. I mean, the amount of calories on this is crazy. But I'll give you one very interesting example: is Sushi Samba. If you look at the similarity between Sushi Samba and the most similar alternative restaurant, it's probably like Duck and Waffle, which technically is nothing to do with the same cuisine, but they've got the same view. And the vast majority of people going to Sushi Samba are going for the view as opposed to for the sushi. It's good sushi. It's not, it's good, but you're going more for the view and the ambiance, right? So we can figure out, are you there really more for the live music? Are you there for the view? Are you there for the food? Are you there for the, atmosphere and so on and so forth? So yeah, it's quite powerful.
And what are some of the results or success stories that kind of stand out most for you?
Yeah, so again, we say we're data-driven, and because of the card data we have, we can be. So we can run control groups, we can run A/B tests, we can look at year-on-year analyses of people who opted in versus people who didn't opt in. So when we say that an offer has driven incremental sales, we can say that with data to prove it. And if you look at the numbers, that we're driving, we just got one premium restaurant group, which we ran with British Airways. We're looking at some numbers. Across the board, other than 1 month here, 1 month there, we were having close to 100% uplift in sales year on year. So that means last year, when we looked at that same customer base and how much they spent versus this year, we've doubled their sales. And we haven't doubled their sales as a total because our proportion is still quite small as compared to their whole thing. but that's powerful data to be able to make decisions on. So yeah, and we're very proud of the fact that we can deliver that kind of results.
It's fascinating. I find this stuff really interesting. So leading into the big drum roll, Johnny's spoilt the large drum roll by alluding to this, but I know you guys are very excited about this product. So dynamic rewards, your new product. Let's unpack it. Tell me all about it and how this will add to your current acquisition strategy.
Yeah. So it started with a large QSR who I'd sent a very large bill to, and they complained. They said, "Omar, it's too expensive." I said, "But I ran a control group, and the results were 69% growth in spend. I think it was something around 60. It was around 70%." They're like, "Yeah, but it's still so expensive." I'm like, again, I'm sorry I drove so many customers your way. And I'm like, "But hold on a sec. You're on Taste Card at 25%, which is more than what I was charging in total, the cashback plus the commission." I'm like, "How do you justify Taste Card but not me?" So initially they waffled a bit, and then finally they said, "Well, they don't invoice me." So that was a light bulb moment. I was like, okay, if that's how simple it is. And we saw restaurants refuse to work with us, but go on to the Fork. You've probably seen the Fork. In the summer, they've got this 50% deal. They don't run with us on a 10% cashback, but go on for 50%. So clearly discounts and cashback were seen differently. So that got us thinking, well, how can we avoid the cashback element? We need to build direct integrations into payments and into the POS to apply a discount at the point of sale. So that was it, really, probably a year and a half ago. Sat down, Jonny, obviously, with his background in head of IT at restaurants. We said, well, how do we make this happen? And
yeah, it's been a year and a half in the making to get to the point where we're now in a pilot with Youcher, and yeah, it's the next step in card linking offers. It's does exactly what Omar said. We're not invoicing anymore for the cashback element, so that means that the budgets that the restaurants have can be extended. In fact, we don't even really touch the marketing spend at all when we talk to restaurants, which is fantastic for those marketing teams. The journey itself is much nicer for a customer because they get their rewards within minutes, hours, days, compared to what it can be at the moment with the banks, which is can be up to 90 days for the cashback to come back into their account. And for the merchants itself, for the restaurants, we're giving them a lot more power to be able to do campaigns that are not just always on kind of a 10%, 24/7. Some restaurants come back to us and say, look, we're fine Fridays and Saturday nights. We're really busy Friday and Saturday nights. We can't really be discounting anything those days. And we've never been able to say, okay, let's turn those days off, because unfortunately the banking technology just didn't give us that flexibility. But where we are now is that we can, because we power it all, we can now give restaurants the ability to turn off days, to do frequency visits, days of the week, times of the day. If they wanted to do a lunchtime offer, another one for the evening, then they have that power to do that.
Just with our payments ecosystem hat on, where exactly are you integrating there? You sat on an Android POS device? Is it in the EPOS software? Is it a mixture of the two? Like,
it is both.
Okay.
So in an ideal world, we would just integrate into the payments because that would be much easier.
I was going to say, there's so many EPOS
There's so many
providers,
payments,
right?
so many
Yeah.
EPOS. That would be so much easier. But what the restaurants want to do at the end of the day, and this is where my IT director hat at restaurants, is they want to reconcile their payments and their cash ups at the end of the night. So you need to reconcile, and the only way we can reconcile is to integrate into the POS. So yes, at the end of the day, you want to see that you've got X amount of payments and your POS has taken that much, and they reconcile. So that's now our job is just to integrate it to as many as of payments and EPOS. We're looking at kind of the top 8 EPOSs out there and payments to be able to have the biggest spread in the UK.
And that funnel's getting a little bit crowded as well, because you've got new laws around tipping. So you've got tip jar and UROCT and people like that obviously helping staff to get better accessibility to tipping and the taxing that goes with that, and removing tax from the restaurant locations. you any challenges in terms of multi-layered applications that sit on POS as well? Like you're competing with other solutions in restaurants?
It's not. I don't think it's so much as competing. In fact, if anything, it helps us because there are now APIs available that they've created for tipping that we can lean on to be able to do what we need to do. So there are different technologies out there that do some really cool things when it comes to payments, where payments can settle payments can be split into different bank accounts. So the tipping gets that part of the transaction will go into a tipping bank account, and the payment company will get their bit, and we theoretically could get our bit. So that kind of takes all of that risk, if you like, and just pays us straight out. So that's really nice. And again, if it wasn't for the tipping world, that probably wasn't created. So we can lean on all of these nice new products to for us to integrate.
And from a partnership side, kind of how are you working with the banks and the schemes to make it as frictionless as possible?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one because not only has it solved a lot of problems on the restaurant side, Jonny mentioned a few, I mean, it even opens up SKU level offers, but it's also solved a lot of problems on the bank side. So to run an offer, and even non-banks as well, I'll give you an example on both. So to run a card-linked offer cashback program with a bank today, I need to get a bank to share transaction data with me. So they've got to build those pipes. They've got to be comfortable sharing transaction data with me. It's non-PII, so that's okay. But still, it's sensitive data. They have to be able to reconcile which customer gets what offer. They have to be able to collect the money from me. And then they have to be able to issue the statement credits back to the customer. So the lift to turn on a cashback card-linked offer program is quite high. When it comes to dynamic rewards, all I need is a token from the bank. The bank there was a bank that came who was interested in our cashback program but said it was too much lift. When we told them about dynamic rewards, they're like, "So what do we need?" I was like, "You just send me the token." They're like, "How?" I said, "SFTP, ideally an API." Right? I knew they weren't going to be into API, so I was like, "Ideally an API." Exactly. I was like, "SFTP is fine." They're like, "Can we send you an email with an Excel file?" So I thought, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So they're literally thinking of sending me now an email with an Excel file with the tokens that we need, non-PCI tokens. So they're very safe tokens.
It doesn't mean anything to anybody, right?
Exactly. If it was stolen, no one could do anything with it. And now I can listen to those tokens at the payment gateway to hear if they show up and apply the offer that needs to be applied. So now the lift from the bank side is almost nothing, right? Now take non-financial institutions. I can get that token from either a online receiving payments company, so think Uber or think WeWork. They receive payments from their customers online via a gateway. If they pass that token to me, I can now apply offers to that card onto any of the restaurants around a WeWork. Or Uber could now offer customers who are arriving somewhere, restaurants around their neighborhood.
That's a great idea.
And even in store, I can get that token, and a hotel can now start offering their guests that check in and put in their deposit offers for restaurants around without any lift whatsoever from anybody.
So I'm presuming you've had an overwhelmingly positive early reaction to this from partners and merchants.
It's been phenomenal. I mean, not just here, out in the States as well. So we did a MasterCard Start Path program. They love the product. I mean, everybody's hugely it changes the game on so many levels. So from a bank side, from a restaurant side, and from a consumer side as well. I think the sky's the limit, and we're starting with restaurants, but all this can be applied to regular retail as well, especially on the payment side.
Yeah,
sector
there
agnostic.
are lots of other verticals that we want to hit the hospitality industry, and kind of our mantra or our mission is to make restaurants profitable. So we gotta tick that box, solve that one, tick that box first. But that's what we believe. Our product is strong enough that we really do have the right data, the right product to get bums on seats and fill those empty tables when they need it. So dynamic rewards, we think is the product to go for.
I think hospitality leads quite nicely always into Stadia and ticketing and fan loyalty across music, across sports, things like that. That's kind of a nice segue vertical for you. It's very clear from the conversation today is what this is an ecosystem play, right? Like there are multiple parts to this ecosystem. So how does that evolve over the next few years? Does it become slightly less fragmented in terms of each of you relying on each other? And the products like this, right, bring everything together, right? Remove some of that friction of the multi-party model that we're talking about, right? What will be the next evolution of this as far as you guys see it?
I mean, obviously moving away from relying on banks is important. I think that's where you get more engagement, right? Consumers are more engaged on an Uber app or on a Instagram or whatever it may be. We've got dynamic loyalty, which is coming out as well. So dynamic loyalty is basically using your credit or debit card to link your loyalty to your link your card to the loyalty program of the restaurant you're at. Now this, in combination with the publishers we have, allow us to, I think there's companies that have gone into this space, but typically they request customers to enter their details at the point of sale. In our case, we can extract their details, their contact details, their verified contact details from the publisher and pass them through to the CRM. So it's a quicker checkout, it's a more valid checkout, and then obviously the customers can see it. And long term, I mean, this is another long conversation for another podcast, but using the same technology we've built, we really want to go into dynamic pricing in hospitality. So hotel-style dynamic pricing, where you're effectively adjusting menus based on supply and demand, 2 weeks in advance, 3 months in advance, depending on time of day of week, the weather, the
Can you imagine a head chef right now turning off this podcast, listening to the
I've
thought
seen
of
it
that?
in a cash and carry space where they do like price. They have dynamic pricing on electronic, think Macro, Costco sort of thing, right? And they do like that sort of stocks and shares type. Hey, we've got a price crash on Coca-Cola pallets, and I think the dynamic pricing market is a very, very interesting place.
Vegas does it right now, by the way. So Vegas, you won't be able, if you go onto any restaurant's website, you won't see prices, because if there's an event going on, they'll jack up the prices. If there's not,
don't tell us that. We're about to go out there.
We'll be there in 10 days, so we'll keep you posted on that.
let me know how it goes.
So it sounds to me, you guys, although what you've built was for the hospitality sector, it's a fintech, right? Yeah. Do you think the lines now are blurring between fintech and hospitality?
I think hospitality, I don't know about fintech and hospitality, but I think data and hospitality. I think historically hospitality has been more analog, been more sort of feeling. I feel like we should do this. Our marketing director always says back in the day, we'd spend £1 million on a project just because we felt it would be good, right? And I think fintech has enabled that data-driven element to that feeling, right? So yes, a lot of it is feeling, because hospitality is a feeling-based sector, but it has to be backed by data. And that fintech element, bringing it together with hospitality, has really helped them make better decisions.
And I think the banks of the world want to engage with their customers. I think they want to be able to talk. They want to offer. They want that stickiness with. They want to be top of wallet, right? That's pretty much what it is. And I think that's where the lines are drawn. It's how can they get closer to the restaurants? The restaurants are offering great experiences at not the price of a holiday or a gig or something like that. So it's an easy way of engaging, and I think that is only going to go. That's only going to accelerate on how can the banks. I mean, we talked to Visa. Visa got millions of customers, but they don't actually talk to them directly. So we have got, with our product, we can now help them talk to the restaurants directly. And so that these are the conversations that we're having, is how can they get closer?
Why do they all have opt-in models out of interest? So I missed the boat on, I did a large-ish purchase last month and then realised a few days later it was an opt-in reward option for me this month. And it won't get backdated, right? I can't then turn it on. I'm not going to get the transaction for 4 days ago.
Back to that point where the purchase you made was not purchased because you thought there was going to be an offer.
Yeah. And what we're looking at doing potentially in that space is potentially putting a very low offer on everything for everyone. So every customer, without opting in, can get 1% cash back at our restaurants. But then they get an email to say, if you want to continue to earn at this restaurant and earn a lot more than 1%, opt in now.
And then the data that's being used there, you're feeding back to the restaurants, are you? And saying, hey, of these 10,000 people, 1,000 clicked opt in after
Exactly.
the 1% the first time.
Exactly.
Data is power,
So it's
right?
personalising the kind of next phase of that journey for the
I
consumer.
mean, there's cards. I've got cards. There's a platform, Quidco, which I'm sure you guys have heard of. That very much is always on, and it is incidental spend. I shop somewhere and I don't even realise that my card is connected to that retailer. I'm happy because I get some kind of cash back. But really, is that a proper acquisition? It's not.
The merchants lost money really because you're
Yeah.
going to buy from them anyway.
Exactly. So what we don't want to do is give cash back to somebody, or give a reward to somebody that was already going in there anyway. We want that acquisition. We want that data to prove that we acquired that customer.
Your view is from a bank's perspective, they'd love that, right? So, and we always have to balance the two views, right? You need to give the bank what they want to give their customer, which is always on as strong an offer as possible. And the restaurants want to make sure that only the right people get the offer. We need to find that middle ground. Now, we always lean to the restaurant side. So we always tell banks, we say, look, we're here for the benefit of the restaurant, not for you. You are my client as well, but my first and foremost client is the restaurant. So I need to make sure whatever we do, that the restaurant gets value out of the product that we're giving them.
And what excites you both then, just as a final sort of segue, what excites you both the most about the next part of the journey for Krowd from this point, especially with Dynamic coming out now?
That's it for me. It's the three dynamic products of rewards, loyalty, and then pricing. I think dynamic pricing is that's a showpiece at the end. Where I mean, Omar keeps on saying, actually, you shouldn't offer any discounts or offers at all. You should just be pricing things correctly at the right times. Yeah. And I think people have tried it in hospitality and not done a great job. It's not something I think you can turn on at a particular restaurant. You need the whole of kind of the industry to say, we want to take this on, and it will be a game changer for the whole industry to be able to do what travel does and what concerts do Ticketmaster do or someone like that. So that really excites me, to do something that hasn't been done properly, that we now have the tools to be able to do it.
Would you strip it all together though? Because you not think humans are wired to sometimes feel like they're getting something for free, or that you've won this sort of discount in some way, shape, or form by being a regular customer. Do you lose that a bit with dynamic pricing? Is it like the right fit for dynamic pricing and the right sub vertical?
I think you can still get that. I mean, with hotels, which is pure dynamic pricing, you still have loyalty and you can still earn your points. And there's always something you can win, right? Surprise and delight.
Yeah.
But the overall pricing dynamics should be around dynamic pricing as opposed to discount led. But yeah, on my side, I like to look ahead, but for me, just because of where we are and that we've launched this current pilot with Oracle and Adyen and the pipeline we have of integrations that are coming through in the next sort of 6 to 9 months, that's what I'm super excited about.
Sounds like your North Star is actually getting closer and closer, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I'll just ask one more question because I'm a little bit obsessed with loyalty. I've worked out today. Gamification in all of this as well.
Yeah.
Is gamification becoming a thing that overlaps the loyalty space as well? Again, because it's just that human, that sort of what's the word? That adrenaline that humans seek, right? Like the gamification element of that. Is that something you're being asked about as well?
Good question. We've built a whole gamification module, which we're looking to launch as well. So that takes into account leaderboards. It takes into account social. So getting people to sort of talk about what they're earning cash back on. Takes into account challenges. So, like the 3-burger challenge. Who can eat at 3 burger places this week? I could do that today if I needed to.
Don't dare me.
Man versus beer.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. So absolutely, like gamification, and especially once we get into dynamic rewards, because of how easy it is for us to connect the customer profile to that gamification without sort of PII and all that stuff, means we can deliver some really exciting tools. So yeah, we're all over that.
Fantastic. And before we wrap up, Omar and Jonny, as you both know, and we've already talked about this, your ick, what would you like to bring to the shelf of shame for us to discuss and either banish forever or take it back with you?
Well, mine, I would love to get rid of physical debit and credit cards. I want to go total digital. I want to be able to walk to an ATM and, like in Spain and supposedly Metro Bank, you can use your phone to get money out. I don't carry cards, and the times that I should have a card or need to, I always forget it. So yes, digitalizing that experience from day dot when you have a bank card, that's what I would like to be able to do.
Very poignant with the political conversations going on right now is that I no longer want people, I don't have to show people who I am by a physical card, right? When I've got my whole life on my phone.
Yeah.
It's funny, I went to Samsung to pick up a phone I ordered online, and I showed them, they said bring photo ID. So I showed them my passport picture on my phone. Like, no, we need a physical ID. I was like, you're the reason I don't carry physical ID because it's all on my phone. It's crazy. They wouldn't give me the phone. It was crazy. But no, on my side, I'd say open banking. I think open banking, the concept is very good. I think it's got a lot of exciting use cases. I think the way it's been delivered has been very, very poor. So I don't mean that we should get rid of open banking. I think we should just turn off everything that they've done to date and start all over again.
Is there an opportunity for you guys with open banking though? Because one of the big gaps with pay by bank and that part of open banking is the fact it hasn't been able to compete with card in large spend items where it maybe really is an addressable product because it doesn't have the loyalty that comes with your Amex, your corporate card, your credit cards, whatever it might be.
We're payment agnostic. Obviously, card is very important for us, but we could do Bitcoin. We could do anything really. So yeah, pay by bank would work. And I think actually, with what Revolut's doing now, and I think if maybe between Revolut, Monzo, Starling, if they sort of get together and agree to build a new network, which is pay by bank as opposed to Visa, MasterCard, or somewhat Amex. It could be something, but like I said, the way it's been built
The
today,
delivery of the product to the market maybe
It's
could have
been
been a lot
horrible.
better than what it could have been
yeah,
after so much hype.
oh
And
yeah,
still continued hype and silly investment into businesses
yeah,
for open banking that still hasn't really done the job that we thought it was going to do 6 years ago.
absolutely, yeah.
I think delivery of it could definitely go on the shelf of shame.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with
I'm
that.
not sure I can bring myself to just broadly put
No,
open
look,
banking
we
in
always
there.
up and out about open banking. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm pro it one day, then the next day I'm slating it. And the reason for it is exactly why you said,
Yeah.
because it's a product that can do so much for
Yeah.
so many different businesses and so many different industries. However, the way that the industry has brought it to market and the competition that's been a part of it has actually meant we've probably failed,
Yeah.
if we're absolutely honest with ourselves, to make what we thought was going to be really, really good into something not really a positive experience for consumer. And we've seen other regions take this pay by bank product and kind of lay it across their region very, very successfully, whether it's
Yeah.
Brazil with Pix or India with UPI. The government said that we're going to do this, we're going to regulate it, here's the standard, go and do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's very difficult to bring in other things into open banking right now, where, like you said, loyalty, for example, we'd love to be able to do loyalty in open banking, just not there yet.
Yeah.
But hopefully that'll be something that we can fix as well.
Well, I think you should be selling it to the PISPs because what they're doing is they're saying to companies, go and build your own loyalty program. Actually, they want it to drive further adoption. They should have come with their own in-house
Yeah.
loyalty program built alongside that payment method that you could stick your logo on and call it what you want and deliver it straight away, because it's just another project then for a retailer to have to think about.
Yeah.
Look, guys,
For another
fascinating.
podcast.
Yeah,
I
we
agree
could
with
talk all
both
day.
camps.
But just finally, then, where can everyone find you guys? Where can they get in touch with the team?
Yeah, so www.crowdit.com or pop by at Moorgate. We're in a WeWork Moor place. And I would love to talk to anybody when it comes to payments. We're always talking to the payment gateway world. Obviously, EPOS and banks and non-banks. So yeah, we're always open. And restaurants, of course. Thanks so much for having
Yeah,
us, guys.
thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.